Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast. I am Chris, joined by my brothers Adam.
Hello.
And Eric.
Hello.
And we are back in the room, but this time not to talk about video games. What the fuck? That's right, you're on the wrong podcast. No, I'm only joking. We're here to talk about a movie, which we have been discussing in bonus segments, and we feel at this time that we want to give a full episode to this particular movie. It's one that we've been excited about. It's one that we have watched multiple times at this point, I believe. And it's been out long enough that we feel that we can do a full spoiler talk and discussion on this particular movie. And that is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Justice! I've seen that's actually been like, for a lot of people, it's been sort of their non-spoiler review has just been Justice in full caps with a full stop bang there.
Yep.
So I think just based on the way we've talked about it so far, people could probably even just get a gist there that we like this movie, but we haven't actually talked about it in depth with each other yet even. So we're actually for the first time going to find out from each other how we feel about certain things. And we're going to be sharing them with you guys. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you've seen the movie, please do jump into the comments to share your own thoughts on this movie and also on any of the points that we bring up at any point if you want to. And if you enjoyed this, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell so you know when we put out future content. You can also touch base with us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take. If you've been listening to us on the audio platforms and you also want to give us your feedback on the movie or just get in touch with us in general, this is obviously going to be your spoiler warning. We have said that we're going to be talking about spoilers, and if for some reason you haven't seen the movie yet, maybe you haven't gotten around to it. It's 4 hours. That's a long time. If you've got a busy work schedule, you might not have got around to it. But if you don't want the film spoiled on you, and yes, there is spoilers, it's very different to the theatrical version in some ways. I mean, it's 4 hours, so there's obviously a lot in it that wasn't in the theatrical version. And we don't want to be the ones to spoil it on you. So if you haven't seen it yet, maybe go watch it. And you can always come back to this episode is always going to be there on audio platforms or on YouTube. So you can always come back. But if you have seen it, welcome to the discussion. Let's talk Justice League. I suppose the first thing we should do is give our general take on the movie. Sure. Adam, I'd love to start with you.
Surprisingly, it's not surprisingly brilliant. It's surprisingly different. Obviously there's 2 hours extra on top of the theatrical cut, but it's just it really is such a different movie. Even the scenes that are the same are different. It's madness, but it's I absolutely loved it. Watched it multiple times, not even taking a break in between, just going straight back in. Because there's bits where you're just wow, let's do that again. It's like a roller coaster. I really I just so hope that he gets a chance to dive back in and just finish off the next two, and that's it. Just let him go then, right? Be finished with him. Go off and do your own thing, but let us see the conclusion to this story. But yeah. Loved it.
Eric, how about you?
I think when I finished watching it, I did have this moment of okay, all right, because it wasn't what I was expecting. Because it's very much a character. It's really almost the definition of a comic book movie. It's about the characters, not a big epic save the world sort of thing film. But even though I was a bit okay, all right, okay, yeah, I this I was a bit not what I expected. I still wanted to watch it again. I was still I still need to watch. I almost felt kind of there was a hole in my chest, and I was all right, it'll only be filled if I watch this film again. So I did.
Wow.
So then the more I watch it, the more I love it, and the more I can take into account the score, again, it's another example of like how the music really can make the difference in a scene.
Mm.
You know, I mean, be it
Oh
just
yeah,
be
yeah.
it just an emotional talking scene or a combat sequence or anything like, you know what I mean? There's the utilization of like the Man of Steel music obviously is in it. That is just gets me so pumped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the Kryptonian ship and I'm just like, oh, it's so good. So I very much enjoyed it. I thought, and CGI was so good. CGI was on point.
I really enjoyed this movie. I think if you're a DC fan, it's hard not to be honest, because it's probably the most DC movie that exists. It's just got the DC universe in it, like, you know what I mean? And there's even, you know, and we're talking spoilers here, so that battle sequence with Darkseid, I mean, not only is it very evocative of like a big Lord of the Rings set piece, and I feel like it's sort of as well, it's like, you know, if we keep making this movie, stuff like this is what's to come, right? Where like this is the kind of shit we're gonna get to. But just like seeing, you know, the old gods and a Green Lantern take on Darkseid and having Darkseid chop off Green Lantern's hand and shit, I'm just like, this is amazing. Like, I want to see more of this. This is straight out of like the animated series. This is like the cartoons, but on a big screen, you know, with a big budget. So, I mean, if you're a DC fan, I feel like it's really hard to hate this film. I think it's a huge improvement on the version we got.
Yeah.
It even baffles me, and we'll probably segue to talking about that, but it even baffles me that whatever about the version that we got being a 2-hour version of this movie, which is obviously, unfortunately, means that there's huge character moments totally left out, and there's, you know, very important pivotal things that really set up the tone of the film that are left out. I don't even understand why some of the stuff was like reshot as opposed to just cutting down. I've heard complaints that this movie is too long, right? Now, if you love it, you're not going to complain. But I do think there's like a Goldilocks cut of this movie where it's like you haven't reshot anything, but it's like 2 hours is too short, and maybe for some people 4 hours is too long. But
I think there's a 3-hour version.
There's a 3-hour version of this movie, which is a perfect film. That's like, why didn't they? And it always baffled me. I remember like when I first saw the theatrical cut and it came out, I was like, why would you, this is the Justice League, why would you want to give them only 2 hours on screen? You're making like this epic team the most unepic movie ever, which is really the problem with there's many problems, but the theatrical version, when you came out, it felt so uneventful, and it felt like it needed to be one of the biggest events, you know, in cinema history. And that's the difference in this movie. It feels eventful. It feels like a huge event. And that's what I enjoyed about it. One thing I will say, my first time watching it felt a little bit tainted, and there's nothing that could be done about it. I was automatically watching it as a comparative study rather than being able to just enjoy the fucking movie. It drove me crazy. Yeah, I was going, oh, okay, so that's a Snyder scene, and so that means in the Whedon version that was a Whedon scene, and I was like, what? Watch this fucking movie.
Yeah, that naturally occurred with me as well, but not in a distracting kind of way. I think the only distracting thing to me was the aspect ratio to begin with.
I was just about to mention
that took me a while to adjust.
I still wish it was widescreen.
Yeah, I wish it was widescreen.
I think there's
but some people love the aspect ratio.
Yeah, but I just think there's some, like the battle with Uxas, Darkseid, right? When he's fighting the old gods and everything. I feel like that's, you know, it's slightly ruined by it being 4:3 rather than the widescreen. I think even the conflict with Steppenwolf at the end.
If you wanted to, I think you could. And I might actually give it a go myself and see, does it actually impact? Because I don't think it will. Setting your TV to, you know, where you can zoom with your television, so you can get it to fill the whole 16:9. So that way you won't have any black bars top and bottom or left and right. It will just fill the whole screen. I imagine it actually won't make that much of an impact doing it that way.
Yeah, maybe not.
Because what it is that the aspect ratio is what was filmed on camera, and later on they put in the black bars top and bottom. So if they can put the black bars top and bottom, you should be able to crop it, and it should still work.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to try that.
Be interested to try it. I'd be interested as well to see the black and white version, because I know Zack Snyder is very passionate about that one. I'd watch it, but I'd also feel like, I was like, why would that be your definitive version? lot of color in this, and there's a lot of interest in special effects. Like I don't know if it would look better in black and white. It'd be interesting in black and white for sure, but I don't know if it'd look better.
It'd be super artsy. Because
black
and white
it's black
and the
and
aspect,
white.
It'd
Yeah.
be artsy fucking superhero.
It would kind of remind me of the black and chrome edition of Mad Max.
Yeah. Where you're like, yeah, it's interesting,
Mm-hmm.
but Mad Max just looks fantastic in color. Like
yeah,
it's so vibrant. So it's like, is it better? I tell you, actually, I did say this to Eric. Actually, a black and white movie that really works for me and is just as good, if not better, than the theatrical or the original version is Logan. Logan in black and white works really well because there's not much happening color wise in that movie anyway. So it actually just really brings it down to earth.
Yeah, things like that where it's a little bit more, not character study.
Gritty.
Logan's not really a character study, but I mean you might be able to do that with Joker as well.
Yeah. You probably would.
Degree.
Yeah.
Although the color palette's that gorgeous.
Really good as well, yeah. Okay, so I think people now know that we all really enjoyed this movie. We can't not talk about the comparisons, I suppose. So maybe let's talk about that briefly before we get into the meat of this particular film. Mm-hmm. So, well, like what came to your mind, Adam, as you're watching it, and obviously you can't help but think about some of the theatrical version.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually pretty surprised to see which scenes were Snyder.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them really shocked me.
Yeah, me too.
Which then indicates well, why change anything at all? Yeah. Like even just the interaction between Bruce and Aquaman at the beginning. It like what was the purpose of reshooting those things? Why add in the "so you speak to fish" line? What's the point in that really, other than trying to mock the character? And I feel like that's what Whedon's cut was that no one takes these characters seriously, so let's just make fun of them. Because in many ways, that's what, like, I mean, same with the Flash as well. The Flash is I suppose the comic relief character to some degree in this film.
Yeah.
But not to the same extent. His in this Snyder's cut, it's like there's an awkwardness to him that his interactions come off as comedic.
Yeah.
Whereas in Joss's version, it's like, no, he's the clown, so let's like really
amp him up.
Yeah, like really amp that one up. And yeah, like you mentioned with the Superman sequence, like Superman's entrance into this film is probably the best on-screen Superman ever. Like it's fucking incredible. It's why change that? It just makes no sense because his entrance was unexpected but glorious.
Yeah.
And then he just absolutely whoop ass. Whereas in Justice League, it's he just appears and he's like, I'm a fan of truth, but I believe in truth, but I'm also a big fan of justice. And he has this big stupid smirk on his face.
Yeah, and
CGI'd smirk on his face.
There's a little nod to the John Williams score at that point as well.
That's another really important point to make as well. Why even change the composer? Danny Elfman's addition to the theatrical cut didn't add anything.
No.
At all.
No. And I like Danny Elfman. Like, to this day, Danny Elfman's Batman theme is probably still my favorite Batman theme to this day, right? Like, Danny Elfman has done amazing score, so it's not to say, like, oh, Danny Elfman butchered that movie, but his music just didn't fit in with the movie at all, and then as a result made it feel so out of place with the canon in which it's set, where it's like why would you not use the Man of Steel theme? It's, it's his theme.
I think Danny Elfman said in an interview that his Batman theme is the definitive Batman theme, and John Williams' Superman theme is the definitive Superman theme. And much like James Bond, and I think he mentioned some other long-running character, you don't change them. Well, even though these films these films existed.
I don't agree with that at all.
No.
Well, I don't agree with that just because I seen that interview as well. He was saying, firstly, he said that composers have too much ego that they want to be writing new themes all the time. And then he said, there's only one Batman theme.
Well, that's a weird thing
Yeah.
to say. Like, to come along onto someone else's project, look at someone else's Batman and go, yeah, the guy who wrote the music to this guy had too much ego, so I'm gonna put my Batman team.
Yeah.
onto this
It's
person.
yeah, it's interesting that he only puts
Bizarre.
his one and not like the Adam West one,
Yeah,
Or-
which is older
or
than
the-
his one, right?
Or the
Yeah.
black and white one.
which is probably more famous too as being the Batman theme.
Yeah. Like everyone at some point knows that. Yeah, like that's. But also, hold on. That's a ridiculous thing. I take it
Yeah.
back. Danny Elfman, you're not a good. No, I'm joking. But
He's a great composer, but I do think he's
but
probably
like the
way
Spider-Man
upstairs.
movies, he did the Spider-Man movies, and I think his theme to that is fantastic. But he didn't go for the '60s Batman theme, did he? If there's only
60s
one
Spider-Man
version
one,
of every, like everyone
Yeah.
knows the Spider-Man,
Yeah.
you know. So that's a ridiculous thing to say. Anyway,
Yeah, it is ridiculous thing to say.
that's the note on that.
Yeah, because even when you're watching the theatrical cut and you are hearing that music, his music, and then you get to when they go into the Kryptonian ship to resurrect Superman, and they play just a little bit of the Man of Steel theme, it just stands out
Does,
so
yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Like you're just like, oh, this is great. This is now the best scene of the entire film because it's got that music. Like,
Yeah.
um,
I think
do.
this film is like, if this came out instead of Justice League.
I don't think it'd be as well received by people.
Yeah, it's almost like it
it.
needs this really shit version to show you that actually this guy knew what he was doing all along.
Yeah.
I think it would be well received, but not
Yeah.
as well received
Not as
as
well.
it is right now. And actually, I think this movie deserves the love it's getting.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a certain amount of love that's been given that's like, I don't want to hear any criticism. And it's like, I have criticisms. Criticisms of the movie. It's not perfect. It's not a
No,
perfect
it's not perfect.
No,
movie.
like it can be like it is 4 hours. Yeah, it should be 3 hours or even just 3:15 or something like that. Because there are things where they could tighten it up a bit. Like so that
It's
would
like
be.
there's that scene where Wonder Woman throws a suitcase up in the air, and then it slow-mo's the suitcase, and you're going, okay, this is going on way too long. Like this is unnecessary, and the result of it is that yes, the suitcase is going to blow up, and then it does, and you go, grand, why didn't it just throw up and blow up? Like this is a scene where we could get on with it. That's not impressive at all, and there's a few scenes like that, but not, it doesn't ruin the movie or anything like that.
No.
But there's a few bits where you could go, okay, well, you could tighten that up a little bit, and you could tighten this up.
Imagine if it was going to be
Move it
if this was to be released as the theatrical cut instead of the theatrical cut. I imagine a lot of those decisions would be stripped down a little bit or changed.
Yeah,
for-
probably. Whereas
Not just for runtime, but just for pacing as well. And whereas this time, like including the aspect ratio and everything,
that's what he likes.
he's just like, all right, cool. I'm just gonna go. It's Zack Snyder's one now, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get to do everything I want to do. It's
Yeah,
just like full
whatever I want.
indulgence of him. And
I
Yeah.
think that this movie, just one of the most fascinating things about how this whole thing came about, like
Yeah.
these two movies now, even just taking scenes from them, should be studied to highlight, because this has never happened before. This has literally never happened before.
no,
There's director cuts of movies
Yeah.
all the time that become definitive versions of movies, but it's always the one director. We've never had a situation where you get a director who makes something, another director comes along and puts their stamp on it,
Yeah.
and then the director's original version comes out after the fact, and you could take the same scene and look at, it's like, what's the difference in color tone, what's the difference in editing that they used, what's the difference in music that they used, and you can actually go, look, this is the impact that a film can have depending on how you present it. Like some of the footage is the exact same,
yeah,
but it's made, the color tone is different and the music is different to the point where you're like, why is this better? Why is it better? Because it's the same scene, right?
hmm
And it's landing better. There's even there's a scene where the Flash is talking to his dad in prison, and for some reason, and that scene is in the
Yeah.
theatrical cut, but it landed so much better for me. And there's a point where he's trying to talk to his dad or whatever, and there's lots of noise going on in the prison, and his dad says, Barry, I want you to listen to me. and everything goes silent. And you could just hear his voice then. It's like, I am never getting out of here. And it hit me so hard. And I was like, that's just playing with the sound and playing with the scene, like, you know? This shit should be studied.
Is that the first time you see Flash in the theatrical cut?
Yeah, he added
I
in a
think so.
sequence where he's talking to some big burly bully dude in the prison.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And he very quickly draws a fucking child's drawing on his face and goes, has a smirk, and then walks away. And that's your introduction to.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, because in this version now, our introduction to the Flash is him trying to apply for a job. That we're getting a sense of his personal life, his personal struggle, how awkward he is just with normal human interaction in that sense. Before we get that clip with his dad, I'm wondering if does that add extra?
Yeah,
that
possibly.
scene?
And actually, maybe on that segue, let's talk about the characters, starting with the Flash, who gets way more scenes. He had a lot of scenes in the theatrical version, and they were all fucking different. He was a lot of the reshoots, it turns out.
Yeah.
I've made it clear before that I fucking hated the Flash
Yeah, same.
in the theatrical version. How do you feel about the Flash in this movie? Eric, I'm going to come to you first because you've got a look of perplexion that I want to get to.
Perplexion. Jesus, you got it to the source, did you?
Are you perplexed on it?
I don't even know what that means. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm gonna answer in the way I think the word means.
Sure.
I actually found his awkwardness really endearing in this film.
Right.
Like it worked, even though I think, again, if you got a different director to do that, or he had a different color tone or whatnot, he probably would be really annoying, right? But like when he goes into the job and he's talking about he's late and he's talking about he's trying to be super friendly, but he's like overdoing it when he's trying to apply for the job.
Right.
So he's kind of annoying the girl. And then that sequence where Iris crashes into the truck, which there's an Easter egg on that truck actually.
What was the Easter egg?
It says Gardner Fox, and Gardner Fox I think was the guy who created the Justice League of America. That version.
Cool.
I think so. I know the name is definitely it is the name of a comic book writer for creator for DC. I think he did Justice League of America. Maybe I'm incorrect on that, but that whole scene is great. I think.
Mm-hmm.
And showing him, and then
the effects on the glass breaking.
Yeah,
is fucking incredible.
Yeah, very good.
I mean, that's CGI for this film is fucking. That's the thing that really caught me was just the CGI. I was just mind blown.
I think it's Weta Digital. I think it's Weta Digital who did the work on this.
Did they?
I think it was. Yeah.
I mean, they're
Awesome.
they're an incredible bunch. But yeah, I think Flash was really, because even the bit in, again, we're going back to Joss Whedon's one where he taps Wonder Woman's sword to her, which I always loved that shot.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
And then he trips over the foot, and it's like, there's typical trying to be Marvel comedy, right? And then
But he still trips over in this one.
yeah, he still, which I was quite a little bit surprised. I was like, oh, okay, he's keeping that. But because he doesn't trip all the time, see, because in Joss Whedon's, I think he trips like nearly every segment, but this is the only time he does, and it's because he's like really happy that he did this thing, because he did for pretty much that whole section feel slightly useless, apart from that one awesome sequence when he saved all the people from the rubble falling down.
Yeah.
That and that music was fucking. I really liked him in it.
Well, he has another really, really, really awesome sequence, which for me is the best Flash moment. In the whole thing.
It's one of the best moments.
That's probably my favorite moment of the film, actually.
That's such a good moment.
Just the music at that point, the fact that he like freezes time and he's running and everything is like recreating under his feet as they like have lost again. Fucking spoilers. And you're just like, yeah, that's the Flash. And that's like, if anyone's familiar with like the comic books, like the Flash has often been you can look at Infinite Crisis storyline or the Flashpoint storyline. The Flash has often been the character that saves the DC universe, not just the League members, the universe.
I think that's
because
that's a
of
really
that
important
ability.
like difference here is that like where the Flash has been pushed aside as being some sort of comic relief in the Justice League. The Flash saves the world in this one.
Yes.
He's the reason he's not the only reason. That's the real
combined effort.
beauty. Yeah,
That's
it's the combined effort of everyone. Everyone's abilities is used together as a team.
Yeah.
That is probably my favorite. I have many favorite moments of the movie.
Huge highlights.
That one is so fucking good.
Because I remember even hearing the music the first time, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is like why was this scene not?" As opposed to him going and pushing some car away, you can use the same amount of time.
They're so
the cuts that were made are
they're
weird.
They're really, really weird. The decisions they've made.
Yeah, because you could still again, I still wouldn't have liked this to have only been a 2-hour movie because it's very uneventful that way. But in a 2-hour version, you could still swap it. You could still have this scene. It's fucking bizarre to me.
Yeah, because even in that sequence, he's quoting his dad, who was talking about how he has to move on and forget about him and stuff.
Yeah,
that he's his father's telling him he's the best of the best and all that. And then, it's a beautiful fucking sequence.
And I actually love the bit as well when Flash gets back to and tells him, "Look, I'm after getting a job. I have my foot in the door," and his dad starts celebrating. He's like, "Yeah, man, you got your foot in the door," and everyone else telling him to settle down or they'll mace him, but he just doesn't care because he's just so happy for his son. I just thought that having those two sequences gave a great relationship between him and his father.
Yeah,
even though his father's not in the movie all that much, really,
Yeah, I even think it is exposition when he's talking about why he wants to do criminal studies, but somehow the way they did that just made it not so corny.
Yeah,
because he's almost being sarcastic with his father,
Yeah, and
this is great.
I still think to this day there's probably an actor out there that I would prefer playing the Flash. If I'm being totally honest, not everything Ezra does works for me, but this version. The scenes that he has in this, the scenes where he works best for me are his down-to-earth moments, his non-comedic moments. There was bits in this where he's actually talking amongst the team, and he's actually giving actual...
really good in it.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's really good. The Flash is not always, a comedic clown. And in that sense, he kind of reminded me of, and maybe this is the way they were kind of looking at it, but, the role that Tom Holland's Spider-Man has in the MCU, which is, he's young, he's kind of naive, he's a bit awkward sometimes. Sometimes he talks a little too much. But when it comes to the heart of it, he does have good input, and he is here to actually help. And that, for me...
Yeah, there's many moments when he's with the team, and he's, trying to make a joke. And the rest of the team kind of give him this look of going, come on, man, this is pretty serious stuff. And he's like...
Yeah, I like the bit at the end when they're discussing the plan.
Yeah.
And then it's how are you going to supercharge it? It was with the power of... Flash goes with the power of love, and Cyborg's is come on, Barry. It was just a good moment because he's always just trying to keep it lighthearted, because it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
They're trying to...
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head there. Yeah. Now, I will say my least favorite scene was just before he does the breaking through the glass thing. That first scene where he came in and started talking and had lots to say about a woman with change on a bus and everything like that. And until I was able to get the flow of it, because I'm still, traumatized by the theatrical version, that I'm looking at it going, oh, fuck no, he's the same. He's the same. Because at that point, I was there was some scenes that I didn't think were going to be in this that were in it. So I was like, fuck, is he going to be oh, no, I just pushed things away. Oh, no. And then when he started doing some cool shit, I was like, okay. And then as it went on, I was like, no, okay. Okay, it's not all there. Thank God.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's that's supposed to show that he can't integrate into society as well as him integrating into being a hero.
Yes, yeah.
Because he is finding his own, which is great. It's a good character arc for him.
Yeah, no, he has an arc.
But he is he is portrayed as being very socially awkward. Which I think adds a little bit of diversity, I guess, to the cast. You've got not everyone is the super badass good looking type, he's very realistic in that sense. I bet you at Comic-Con there's a lot of Flashes. You know what I mean? There's
anyone
a lot less kind of Superman.
Yeah.
I even his explanation for his suit. But I think competitive ice dance is like this shit is used for like helping air and like spaceships on burnups. I do very competitive ice dancing.
But one of my favorite comedic lines in the whole movie was when, and actually there's a good heartfelt moment there too. You know when they're digging up Superman, and like, well, first of all, he's like, we could do this in like a nanosecond, and they're like, yeah, but let's be respectful. First of all, I really like that. Then I liked when he stopped for a moment and he went, Superman was my hero. Like, I love that moment with like the Flash saying that, like how much he looked up to Superman.
And that's kind of true as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Then when he's talking about Wonder Woman, he's like, you think she'd ever go for a younger guy? Cyborg's like, she's 5,000 years old, Barry. Everyone's a younger guy.
It's a good point.
I love that line. Which maybe that could lead us on to talking about Cyborg.
Oh man,
come on!
Well, we're on to the heart and soul of the film already.
Hey.
But like, I totally understand why Ray Fisher was like pushing so hard for this movie and so pissed off by the theatrical version. Why was his shit cut?
I don't know.
That's mental. That's mental. Like this film is like his origin story and his win.
It's around him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
It is mental. It is absolutely mental. And he's like, again, he's a pivotal. I love the kind of interaction between him and Flash. Like it's him and Flash becoming gods, essentially. Like they're like rising up and discovering their place within amongst these other, demigods or gods. The other members of the Justice League. Those two are kind of just like starting out, and it turns out that it's those two combined to save the world.
Yeah,
like that's like Cyborg's story arc. He's got such a range as well as an actor.
Yeah, I thought he was like that scene where he's in the car with his mom.
Yeah.
And he starts to cry, he's like, "Don't make excuses for my dad. Like you do the exact same job, but yet you're able to make the effort to be here."
Yeah.
Really hit me.
Fucking pivotal shit. Like what the fuck, like.
Yeah, and even actually, I remember watching the football scene, and I was like, "How is this the most exciting thing in a superhero movie so far? This is amazing." Like I just thought that was shot so well, looked incredible. I was like, "This looks beautiful. Why would this scene is so good? It's so good." And I have no interest in sports, but it's so good.
Yeah.
Eric, what were you about to say?
I was just talking about just cutting out his relationship with his mother and father. They cut her out completely.
Yeah, what the hell?
And she's great.
She's really good.
Like when the principal goes in to essentially give out about Victor, and he's like, so Mrs. Stone's like Dr. Stone. Like she's asserting herself there straight away just by saying that she's Dr. Stone. And then she owns that principal, and it's great.
And I like that they in that brief moment you hear about that, Vic used to kind of hack and help people even before he was Cyborg. So really, like being Cyborg has given him new abilities, but he's kind of always been that person. It's not that he suddenly, because he has these powers, now he helps people. It's just that now he can do so much more. And that bit when they're talking about what he's actually capable of, and you're like,
that's mental. Yeah, that really kind
Jesus
of
Christ.
That always reminds you of when you hear about a superhero and you don't know anything about them, and there's going to be that one dude who knows everything about them, and he just gives you a rundown of why they're so powerful, and you go, "Wow, cool!" Like that's what that moment felt like.
Yeah, you're kind of you're like, "Oh, who'd win a fight, Cyborg or Batman?" Right? And somebody will be like, "Batman, obviously." Like Cyborg is just like a robot dude. Batman would fuck him up in a second, and then you go, "Hold on. Let me tell you what Cyborg can do, though." And then you go, "Oh shit."
Cyborg can nuke Batman. Or take all of his money.
I love that scene where he was like monitoring someone's life falling apart and then just fixes their life by like giving them funds.
That's the great thing as well though, about this whole film coming out is, obviously justice for Zack and seeing his vision, and it's great that we get to see that, and that Ray Fisher's part of it. But that actress who played that mother in that family that was falling apart, she set out a tweet. It's like when the film was not launching, I think it was like the premiere of it.
Right.
And she's like, I haven't seen it yet, but are my scenes back in? and everyone is like boosting her, saying you're absolutely amazing, all this kind of stuff, and she's just like, you know, I think it was maybe one of her first major roles in a film or something.
Oh.
And to see, like, you know, she's really overjoyed with the fact that she's now finally in it.
Yeah, well, that scene really worked for me. I love that scene.
Yeah, it's
powerful scene because it's showing another way of helping people as a hero. You know, rather than him going to fight the crime, he's now helping this person through a difficult time.
Being a superhero is not always fighting bank robbers and stuff. You know,
No.
like sometimes it's just doing things like that. Or it's like, you know, people make jokes about like, Superman saving cats out of trees and stuff, but that's part of it. You know what I mean? That's part of like the superhero mythos. It's that anyone that's in need, we help who's in need, and we use our powers to do so, or whatever. I just think that scene was so pivotal in understanding what kind of a person Cyborg is, and the fact that he did it from the shadows. He's not looking for praise, or you know, you'd never know. Like he'd even said on it, like you've won some lottery or something like that. So as far as she's concerned, that's where the money came from, and that's it. I just think that was so cool, and I love the scene where Diana is looking for Cyborg, and he just hacks the Batmobile or the Batcomputer, and is just like, "Meet me here." That's so cool.
And like his story arc is really good too, because like he, you know, obviously the purpose of the football game and him helping his friend with grades is like to show that, you know, he was this really nice dude, but a popular guy too. He was able to do so much.
Yeah.
And after the accident, he has become disabled.
Yeah.
So he's actually, I don't know, would he be the first disabled superhero on screen?
On screen? Possibly.
Like
I'm not sure. I can't think of a.
But
I don't even know the right now. I'm sure someone will point
journey then. Like he realizes that no, he's not. You know, he sees himself as this broken person, not just mentally but physically as well. That it's not him and all this kind of stuff. And then, like, obviously by the end of it, when he's confronting the mother boxes who are trying to tempt him, to say that he's not broken, and he's not alone, which is mad that was always in there.
That line resonated in a strong way, I feel. Yeah,
like just due to the circumstances of the movement of the film coming out.
Yeah,
and it's actually that you know, in the Flash. Back to the Flash a bit, like the moment where he gets into the car with Bruce Wayne and Bruce says, "I'm rich," which is probably the one scene I really dislike.
Right.
Is, you know, what's your superpowers again? I'm rich. But when he drives off, there's the big billboard.
Yeah. You are not alone.
You are not alone for the suicide prevention billboard is up there.
Yeah.
So it's weird that ended up becoming like the message of the whole film.
Yeah, and that they're not a divided team. They actually work. Like the movie is actually not about a team that's sort of like finding it hard to stick together. They actually work very well as a team together.
Which is in the Justice League. I think they were trying to add
a bit of tension. Yeah, Justice trying to add a bit of tension because I suppose, you know, that's what he did with Avengers, and it worked very well there. And I suppose he's trying to. I mean, in many ways, when you look at the reshoots, you can see he's trying to emulate some of what worked well in Avengers. But in a movie that's too rushed that it can't work here. There hasn't been enough time to develop the tension. So it just feels out of nowhere, really.
Cyborg was great.
Cyborg was fantastic.
Really
I loved him. And actually, I love that chapter or that part of the movie is called Beloved Mother, Beloved Son.
I thought that was obviously going to be about Martha, and then I think it only took me on my third watch then go, okay.
Who's it about?
It's the gravestones.
Yeah, it's about.
Who's it about?
It's about Eleanor and Victor.
Is it? Is it just about them?
Well, I mean, that's what you write on a gravestone.
No, I know
that. It was under.
I know that. No, and I know the obvious thing is it is about them, and it is about them. But it is also about the Flash, and it is also about Aquaman, who are the three characters explored in that one. All of them are sons, and all of them have lost their mothers.
Oh.
I got the Aquaman one. I didn't quite. The Flash one didn't quite resonate.
No, but I just thought about it afterwards, where I was like, oh, he's made a connection between the characters in that they have all lost their mothers.
Well, actually, every single one of them have, haven't they?
Well, apart from
maybe
Diana.
Wonder Woman hasn't.
That's the only one.
Yeah.
Superman
So I thought that was a really cool
an adoptive one either.
kind of connection. It's not obvious, but if you stop and you go, oh yeah, this particular chapter is about these three characters, flesh them out because they're the ones that haven't had kind of their own movies, and it's highlighted that each of them has lost their mother and each of them is kind of looking for their place in the world.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. And on that note, maybe we'll jump on to Aquaman.
I think he's the one character that, like, after watching it a few times, he's quite nicely done in terms of the subtlety of his arc. But on the first watch, he felt very absent in many ways. Like his story and his arc felt really, really absent, and probably purposeful because he was going to get his solo movie.
Right.
But, which is annoying now because it doesn't quite line up.
Add up, yeah.
No, it doesn't.
You know what? I watched the Aquaman movie this morning, and it's okay. It's fine. You know, Mira shows up and she says, you know, you're the one that stopped Steppenwolf. So, and you go, yeah, cool, okay, that's fine. And it just goes from there. The only thing that doesn't add up is Vulko looks a little bit different.
Mira's dad.
Mira's parents are dead. They refer to Mira as Commander Mira rather than Princess Mira. The way they talk is complete. It's a completely different Atlantis.
Yeah, it is different. Like,
yeah, but you know what?
They're all English.
You can see
Atlantis.
that's like the studio with the Justice League one was trying to re-edit that to fit in with what they wanted to do with Aquaman.
Right.
That's the way I see it.
I'm quite like one of my critiques of this movie, one of my nitpicks, and they are nitpicked, but they're there. I don't like Mira in this movie at all. I like the scene where she what she does with her ability.
That's dope.
Badass.
Well,
Badass.
fuck me. I was like, what accent does she have?
I know, yeah. They were like trying to make all the Atlanteans kind of British.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know Amber Heard from any other movie. I actually enjoyed her as Mira in the Aquaman movie. So that's the only thing I've seen her in. So I don't know anything about. But in this particular movie, I thought she was awful. I thought she was terrible.
Yeah, she is definitely better in Aquaman. But either way, it doesn't really matter. She needs to be replaced.
No. Jump on that boat, everyone. But in terms of one of my favorite shots in the whole movie is, and I know there's a smaller version of it in the theatrical cut, but I don't think it's the full thing. But it's when Aquaman is walking out on that really dangerous pier and the water is bursting in over him. I was like, that's just like so well shot. Like that's just amazing imagery.
It's quite interesting, actually. And that's going back to what you said earlier about like how you can get the same scene, but just by changing the music, add a completely different meaning to it.
Yeah. Right, and tone, yeah.
Like the Justice League, it's like badass music, and he's just like a dude,
It's
bro.
the icky thump, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas in this one, it's a little bit more like you can see that this guy who lives in the end of a bottle a bit, and he's lost. He's a lost person. It really just changes. The music adds to his story, I think.
I think as well they've gone for kind of a. It's not an exact comparison, but with Aquaman's character, they've gone with kind of like an Aragorn thing, which is I know I'm the heir to the throne, but I don't want it. I don't want the throne.
I'm pretty sure, like Zack, maybe I'm wrong. I think Zack did in an interview say that he took great inspiration from Lord of the Rings for his essentially Justice League trilogy.
Oh, that's
which is why
pretty evident, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the war scene is very much the last alliance. The mother boxes are very much the ring. So yeah, I think Aquaman is his Aragorn in this story.
Right. Is there anything else to say on Aquaman?
I kind of do wish his origin story came first. I do feel like a lot of that exposition, like to set up Atlantis, is very forced and very out of place.
Yeah.
So I do kind of think he is a character who needed an origin story. Flash and Cyborg didn't.
No,
they were established.
They're told really well in this film. Yeah.
And Batman doesn't need an origin story. We've had a dozen of them, so obviously he never needed one. But I do think because with Aquaman, you're exploring such a unique, different world that we definitely would have never seen on any screen in any medium, apart from like the animated films. I do think he kind of needed an origin story to really establish not hit the character but just the world.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. It's the one place where it's like if you're like, I think if you're a DC fan, fair enough. You're just like, well, hey, yeah, there's Mira and there's this is great and there's Vulko.
Yep.
Whereas if this is all you've seen of it, I think you could be like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it's
almost the underwater scenes.
It's almost like the nightmare sequence of BVS.
Yeah, he's the only character that feels a bit out of place a bit.
Yes.
Right.
In terms of the flow of the film.
But I'm glad that lasso scene wasn't in it. So I was happy about that.
Oh, that was yeah. Well, a lot of
what talk about that was amazing.
A lot of the
so
kind
funny.
of stupid add-ins that were in Justice League with Aquaman, I think it's definitely better that they're not here. I liked the way they had the kind of the way they speak underwater and the kind of bubbly
the dolphin thing.
Like, but I absolutely understood why they just could not do that for Aquaman.
The movie,
you can't have a whole film underwater where it's like,
where
well, I
like
wouldn't mind because like you just have subtitles.
I think
but could you imagine that in theaters, people having to read? Fuck me. I understand that decision. Like that makes sense to me. But Mira's ability that was so cool.
That was cool. That was fucking cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. Cool. But there's one thing that's really kind of weird with what Wonder Woman says about when they're talking about the heroes, right? And she's talking about Aquaman
that as well, yeah.
And she says like, oh, he's an Atlantean, water breathers, and then Bruce Wayne says, oh, well, he was breathing air just fine, and somehow she's able to deduce that he's a half-breed, even though they can all breathe just fine in the air, considering they have water bubbles.
I think in Zack's version they can't, whereas in
but they could.
I think that's what he's getting at. No,
they could because obviously the ones that were dragged on shore and also Vulko and Mira at the end were. That's
a weird line.
It was really, really strange. I think
it works with the Aquaman film that James Wan did because they had the lowerborns couldn't breathe air while highborns could.
Right.
So it works there.
Right,
but in Zack's version, because they actually all can breathe both underwater and above water, it's a bit of a weird line.
Yeah, it's a weird line. And actually, you just mentioned Wonder Woman there.
I did.
She's wonderful.
What do you think of Wonder Woman?
This is the best Wonder Woman film.
Fucking, I don't know how, but I only copped it when watching this film. Like, I never copped it that she's as fast or slightly faster than a speeding bullet. I don't know how. I thought she just had really good trajectory and timing with her like bracers, and then all of a sudden that scene when she goes into the London bank thing.
All right.
And she fucking, I was like, oh my god, she is so fast, and she is brutal as fuck. She fucking chucks a guy and smashes his head off the wall. Like it's she was her and the Amazonians were fantastic in this film. I think one of my favorite segments is the Themyscira bit.
That's so good.
It was very like there's like the 300 kind of vibe off of that sequence, wasn't there?
I think there's a lot of in this movie and in general. There's a lot of like, okay, let's look at everything Zack has learned over the years, almost in kind of one movie.
Yeah, I don't think this.
I
think if anyone had a problem with BVS, you don't have to worry about this. This is nothing like Batman versus Superman. This is to me a lot more like. Not the political side of Watchmen, but rather the structure of Watchmen with like the style and combat of 300. Like if you took 300 and Watchmen together and put DC characters in it, I think you get this film.
But the tone of Man of Steel.
Well, yeah, at some degree. I think Man of Steel is still a bit more.
I'll be honest. I think if those 2 F-bombs and that 1 reach around line weren't in this movie, it's a 12s movie. Like the violence is very minimal.
Well, he said himself. He said this is a soft R rating.
Yeah, it's really a very suitable 12s movie. To be honest with you,
so.
Like kids would get a blast out of this movie. Actually, the only thing inappropriate is those F-bomb lines and that 1 reach around line. Maybe.
I do think that like. We do live in a society where mothers would give out about the hand being cut off and when
I don't think so.
All the blood pumping out of Darkseid.
I really don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's almost
I think the Lord of the Rings is just as violent.
The Lord of the Rings is definitely just as violent.
You get beheadings and blood and that and everything. Like in the Return of the King, they throw in beheaded heads that aren't CGI'd. They look really real, and there's blood bits coming out of them. Like no mother went, "Oh God, this is so inappropriate for my child." You know, like there was no backlash to the Lord of the Rings for the violence that's in it.
Yeah, I think that was years ago.
Yeah,
I'm talking about nowadays.
It's all fantasy violence. Like there's nothing realistic about any of the violence in this
Actually,
movie.
before we get on to back to the Aquaman sequence where he goes to kind of save Mira from, and then the whole Mother Box sequence.
Right.
Steppenwolf killing the Atlanteans in that moment, the blood underwater, it just looked like a shark going
a shark
after
attack.
prey.
Yeah,
like,
cool.
like it, that was handled so well. But
yeah,
he literally chops a dude in half there, though.
Yeah, but again, it's
he also like he does fucking Atlanteans straight out of wall, and he like there's blood like all over the rock and shit.
It's fine. Watch the DC animated cartoons, which are 12s. They are just as violent, if not darker, actually. So
I
don't think there's any issues with it.
I really don't.
It's the F-bombs.
I think it's the F-bombs. That's it. And one of them is contextually it's fine. There's a criminal is saying it, and they're threatening kids and stuff, and you're just like, yeah, cool. But actually, on that sequence, I love that after Wonder Woman kicks the shit out of all those guys, what she says to that little girl.
Oh, that's Diana.
For me, captured Wonder Woman even better than the 1984 movie. Like I know in the 1984 movie they were trying to capture that side of Wonder Woman, which is the inspiration to the younger girls kind of thing. But in that one scene, I felt it was done even better. Where I liked even just when she's asking, "Hey, is everyone okay?" Yeah, it felt really genuine. It felt like real. It didn't feel overly like, "Let me put my hands on my hips right now and."
She was actually like concerned about everyone, and even does the fact that she took a bullet, like even though bullets would just rebound her, she did take a bullet for him. As she was blocking all the bullets, one of them does actually hit her shoulder. You can't actually hear her be like, "Ow!"
Yeah.
And then she just absolutely wrecks him.
She's a fucking badass, isn't she?
Oh, she takes on Steppenwolf on her own in the fucking sewers, like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like it has better fights for Wonder Woman. Well, I think in general, but for Wonder Woman particularly has better fight sequences. Now I've never seen 84. I've just seen the standalone Wonder Woman film, which I wasn't really that much of a fan of. I thought it was fine, but this to me is a better Wonder Woman film because you have like much better fight sequences showing how powerful she is. She's incredibly powerful, very capable fighter. But moments like that, which you mentioned, just being a inspiration for that little girl, but also she really brings the team together. There is no conflict within the team because of her. She inspires like Cyborg to join them. She makes Arthur realize that there's something in common between them. Yeah, not just the fact that he doesn't like Atlanteans himself, but that saying that they share in common. It's like that they're not so different. Like she is really like the glue holding everyone together. I felt in this whole film.
Yeah, and I love that scene where they're about to go to like their first battle as a team, and Flash goes, "Well, have we got a plan?" And he looks at Batman and Wonder Woman and says, "Either of you," because
they're the leaders.
They're looking at them both as the leaders, but I felt Diana was a leader more than Bruce was.
Well, I suppose Bruce would have spent so long on his own. He doesn't really know how to unite people well.
It's just her heart is different, I think.
She's just badass.
That's what I was like saying is that when she was introduced to the world of men, she worked on a team straight away. And had to inspire hope into them with the No Man's Land sequence, while Batman has spent so long in the shadows. I mean, as Alfred said it, someone who spends his whole life brooding in the cave is not really one for recruiting.
That's really frustrating now about the DCEU is that, like, she even mentions it kind of again in this film that after the World War I, she's like abandoned humanity essentially. She doesn't come back into the world of the living essentially until BVS.
Right.
Except for that little excursion in 1984, or like what's the
no, like at the start of 1984, it seems very apparent that this is something that she does. She's a superhero, and she does because they have a mall sequence. Okay. It's the worst thing ever. She literally picks up a guy, shakes him by the leg to shake his money out of his pockets, kind of a thing. Like it's fucking atrocious. It's so bad. Like I was embarrassed watching it.
But the studio, I can imagine WB at the moment is like looking at this going, "Oh God, like what do we do? What do we do?" Because
because
or they're going, "We've made money out of this movie twice.
we should do this for all our properties."
Let's release the air cut. Sure.
Yeah, because I think they have said though. I think again, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think I saw an article where Warner Bros. Zack has said that Warner Bros. Told them that they still count the Justice League as
that's the canon.
as their canon definitive one.
Yeah.
Right.
For the DCU.
Yeah.
Which is like, I mean, Aquaman.
It's only been a little while.
You know, that does follow off from that one a lot easier than this one, and I'm assuming 1984 does as well. Again, I haven't seen it, but it's not like there's not much contradictions there, is there? Like,
well, yes, there is because BVS is still canon, and in BVS,
I think if they wanted to, they would completely remove that from their canonical thing because they've gotten rid of that Batman. They're thinking about getting rid of that Superman, and they're disregarding the Nightmare sequence. So I don't know if they're considering BVS.
Things might change.
Hopefully.
As Danny DeVito once said, "Things change." He had an umbrella at the time. Anyway.
All right. Either way.
I was like, when the fuck? That sounds like Al Pacino. Did he get them?
Yeah, that was the Penguin. He had a really deep.
Either way, Wonder Woman and the Amazonians were handled perfectly.
So well.
Like, I mean, actually, just talking about the Amazonians, we actually got to see Hippolyta being a caring queen.
Yeah.
And the fact that she doesn't just go, "Oh, I'm now going to leave all my sisters to die." It's her sisters beg her to leave.
Yeah.
And just go abandon us because the box is more important. Like, you know.
I love that moment as well. Like, I mean, it's so annoying that they latched onto the fear thing in the theatrical cut as being a thing, but when he comes down, and he's saying that, like, you know, about the whole fear yoke, she's just like, "Well, let's show him our fear," and they're like, "Just
we have no fear," and they all get. I was like, "That is badass."
Yeah, it was great actually with the watch party, and everyone was quoting that. As it was being said, like, you know, this unity thing was
that to me showed like a great understanding of who the Amazons are. They are these relentless warriors who never give up, because that speaks into like that's always been the thing of like even if I'm sure some people who are DC fans will be familiar with the story where Batman made files on all the Justice League on how to defeat them, and for Wonder Woman, his understanding of her weakness is that she can never give up. So actually, you need to try and use that against her. That she will never give up. So actually, like the way to kill Wonder Woman is exhaustion. Like, give her a battle she can't win till she fights forever to the point she cannot fight no more.
So what, Superman?
That's like Wonder Woman. No. It's like if you get nanites into her blood where she's in an illusion and she's fighting something but like it'll keep replicating and so it'll a fight that'll never end essentially. But
that moment where they talk about, I think she mentions to Bruce about Arthur being an Atlantean, saying that her people went to war with them once. I want to see that film by Zack. I want to see the Atlanteans versus
the
Amazons. Like that would be an insane film.
Yeah.
So
prior to Diana, you know.
Yeah. That'd be so fucking cool. I think that the last two League members to talk about would be Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
Let's start with Batman, because Superman's the last one that actually comes into the movie, even though he's the first one you see in the movie. Hold on a second. Let's start with Batman. Eric.
I'm not really a big fan of Batman being a big, like, relying on faith. Right. Well, not really. Like, he sounded like Ben Affleck there than Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
Right.
That line is not delivered very well.
No.
I agree.
But a lot of his other interactions with Alfred are very good.
Yeah.
His absolute determination to bring back Superman. His like belief that there's no us without him. Like that we have, like, we're not the Justice League unless we have Superman.
Right.
He spends all this time. But I really do like. He's very different. And it's showing now how Superman has inspired hope in him by dying. because he's not as brooding in this as much as he is in BVS. Honestly, I thought he was okay. Actually, I thought he was. I prefer him in BVS to this.
Yes.
I think he was fine, but this almost really does show. It's like, why are you here? You don't really do anything.
Yes.
They don't really show off his masterfully tactical skills that he's renowned for within the Justice League. But other than that, he does some pretty badass moments when he does get the chance to actually be a badass. And he doesn't have shitty lines like something's definitely broken or something's definitely bleeding. He's not out of breath when he runs around. He's not saying I didn't bring a sword. He's not saying Jesus, he is big. So I think he's definitely better. But
it's nice also not seeing the rosy cheeks.
It's also red cheeks, yeah.
The rosy red cheeks or his kind of fat looking face.
Right.
But there was definitely he was good in it, but he definitely was better in BVS in my opinion.
Right.
I kind of like some of his dialogue. I think between the different characters. So essentially, he was better as Bruce Wayne in this film than he was as Batman in this film. You know, his interactions with Diana were good. His interactions with Barry were good. I think his interaction with Aquaman first.
Yeah, were really good.
With the Icelands, even the way he says the Aquaman doesn't sound cheesy.
That scene in Iceland, is it in Iceland?
Yeah, it's in Iceland.
Is my favorite Batman scene in the whole movie.
It's a really good scene. So that's your opinion of Batman then?
Yeah, if there's one character on the league that I think is not handled particularly well, it's Batman. And that's one of my biggest criticisms of the movie. And I fucking love Batman. And I just felt like, I don't know, I felt like he was a spare limb for a lot of the movie. I felt like I understood Zack's reasoning for like, okay, like why would they go to him that we need you because he's immortal, right? So then therefore why not do it the other way around where he's the one that goes to get them because he knows he's out of his depth. But I think they should have explored that a little bit more, like that he is out of his depth and maybe have him trying to do things and realizing it's like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I also think people will hate me for this one. There's some stuff, while not executed well, that Joss Whedon did in his version that I actually agree with. One of them is to have, not necessarily again the way it's said or executed, but to have a backup plan for bringing Superman back. In that version, he organizes to have Lois brought there.
Yeah. As
the big gun. And in that version, they make it out that maybe he's talking about Kryptonite, but it's not. He's actually talking about Lois.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. To me, that's a real Batman thing to do, is to have a backup plan. And in this movie, I felt like, Ben Affleck does a great performance, and there's some cool shit for sure. Like, there's that cool scene where he comes in and he kicks the shit out of some parademons. There's no, like, warehouse scene. He needed a warehouse scene where you're like, fuck yeah, it's Batman. And he just didn't have it. He's the only one at the end of the movie in that last battle that really doesn't do much. Whereas the rest of them have a part to play in actually saving the day, kind of a thing. I don't know. That's my.
I'm at a disagreement with the both of you, I think.
Well, hey, bring it on.
Finally.
One thing that I think is really, really interesting, like, because I think there's, if this will be his last take, I agree, it would be nice to have more Batman doing awesome shit, but the initial plan was going to be, not the last one. So setting him aside to allow the League to shine a bit. I think those awesome Batman moments are to come, or at least were to come.
Yeah.
And hey, I let you spoke.
Sorry.
What I find really, really interesting here is the character arc where he reminds me a little bit of Jack Shephard from Lost.
All right, yeah.
really, really interesting, where he does become almost like a man of reason to becoming a man of faith. That Superman has inspired that. A man of reason would have the backup plan. A man of faith would just assume that Superman is all good and that everything will be fine. So I think it kind of plays into, but I think that naivety would possibly disappear once we get to the nightmare. So he's still making mistakes as a man would. But as far as the end sequence, he is there to ensure that the Flash can do his kind of run at the end. That he is going around taking out all those Sentinels. That's his role, is to take out those guns, the parademons and stuff like that. And he does, like, other than Justice League, I think he does a lot more in this. And especially the bit in the sewers, where he, when Cyborg initiates the fight sequence, Wonder Woman comes down and the awesome music kicks in when she kicks the shit out of Steppenwolf. Yeah. And then Batman jumps down and he starts disarming a bunch of parademons and he's actually doing something. Other than just getting his ass whooped all the time. I agree that seeing more of him would be great, but I do think there's a reason for that.
I certainly, by the way, I don't want anyone thinking that what I'm saying is that that everything he did in the Joss Whedon version was better. I'm not saying that at all. I just like that he did have a backup plan.
Yeah, I feel like that was their method of...
That is Batman. You know what I mean?
But I think that was their method of retconning the whole Lois is the key sequence. So that way they can just get that out of the way. It's very clear that Lois being the key means
much more.
So different.
Yeah, it means so much more.
Something darker, maybe.
Yeah. And I still love that, if Zack... First of all, my initial thought when the movie ended was, please let him make the next one.
Yeah.
I am so invested in seeing where that goes. I want to see a whole movie of that nightmare world. I want that. Yeah. I'd love to see that. But anyway, it's not that I hated Batman in this movie. It's just that I feel like I don't know, like
he definitely won for the character studying in this film because his greatness shines in more of his now evolving ideals rather than having a warehouse sequence. But I think my favorite scene is the end nightmare sequence.
For Batman?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for Batman.
Yeah, probably.
You can probably see that he's gonna become like essentially how he was a little bit in BVS.
Yeah. Maybe he'll feel terrible that he ever let his guard down or something like that, and that could be great. Yeah. It's just that if you give any writer Batman usually comes out with the coolest, deepest, darkest lines, and I don't know if he always did have.
Glad that rooftop sequence isn't. It was so obviously.
Oh God,
wasn't it?
Yeah. Fucking hell, jeez, yeah, got that. Anyway, so that's Batman, and then Superman.
I mean, they eventually, the fans got what they wanted. They wanted the more hopeful kind of character. He was very hopeful, and he had his little cheesy line in it when he's all like not impressed. He has the freeze breath. I loved it. It was fucking brilliant. And again, music makes all the difference when they're standing around. No, not just that, but but when they're talking around the mother box.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
So well executed.
Fucking amazing.
Going around, and the music slowly starts to swell up, and then hearing Barry go, "Is anyone going to say it? I don't want to say it." And then Cyborg just projects Superman, and the music propels, and everyone's looking at it, and it's just like, yes, bring him back. You got me pumped.
That is a good month. Good month.
Let's go back to our Man of Steel episode when we all said we hated Superman growing up. Versus this scene where with music and our understanding of Superman now and just that build up, now you're like, I can't wait to see Superman. Yeah. That's a line I never would have said at age 10.
That's interesting actually. It's like, because I think if you hated Man of Steel, that scene would still get you pumped.
Oh,
like if you hated the Man of Steel BVS version of Superman and you were in love with earlier versions of Superman, that scene would get you pumped. And so would the end one as well when Superman comes into it.
And if you were in love with Man of Steel and that version of Superman, that scene will also get you pumped. So that scene would unite every Superman lover.
Yeah.
I think so. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. And like I think Chris, we like after I finished watching the film, I asked Chris did he see it, then he said yeah. So we were talking about
Very briefly, yeah.
briefly about it just on Messenger, but he was then telling me that like because I was like, oh, I love the black suit, it's awesome, I love that they brought it in, and then Chris told me that Warner Brothers denied that. Yeah, didn't want it. And it's like, oh, no one wants that. Who wants it? It's like, everyone wants it, you dumb fucks. It's pivotal to the fucking story arc of Superman.
But that's the one thing then that so in this movie there is no story reason as to why he's wearing the black suit, whereas in the comics there is, and the reason for that is because he had to be able to swap between the two at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
So he couldn't actually put a story reason in.
Yeah.
Whereas in the comics, the black suit is like a Kryptonian healing suit, and it's helping him regain his full strength again.
Yeah.
I love the shot when
just wearing it, but it looks fucking cool. So like, what's wrong with it? You know.
I love the scene. He walks out of the ship wearing the suit. He flies up,
man.
and he's in front of the sun. I was like, see these shots. This is what embodies the greatness of when Zack is filming a comic book film.
Well, as well, just the montage, the lead up to basically his first flight again, and just hearing the voices
two
of
dads.
his father, leading up to it, and the music building up, and you're just like, let's go, man! I'm pumped right now. Like I've heard some complaints is that Superman's maybe not in this movie enough for their liking, but I think it's very cool that you have a long build up of a world without Superman, and then when he finally comes, it's just like
he doesn't overstay his welcome at all.
No, like you're like I think it's a good thing to say. I want more of him.
Yeah,
that's a good thing to say.
Because I get one of people. So people are saying he's not enough in this film, but then with Joss Whedon's one, people were saying he's in it too much in the fact that he does too much.
And he looks terrible.
Well, he looks terrible, but he comes along, he beats up.
No one else is needed.
Yeah, he beats up. Yeah. Then he goes off and saves a building of people, and then he comes back and does the mother box, and then he still beats up Steppenwolf.
Yeah, so he does everything.
Like, he does everything, and so it's like, okay, right. Yeah. But at least in this film, by having that build up, you're showing why he's needed. So when he does beat the shit out of Steppenwolf, it's
when he lasers off
his fucking horn.
Steppenwolf's horn, holy shit! I was like, whoa, Superman!
I just love his entrance.
Yeah, it's so good.
Like I just wasn't expecting it at all. Like the way it just comes in, and it's the power in like obviously he did freeze Brett in the other one as well, and broke the axe in the other one, but in this the way it's handled. And the power in just that punch, and then he does that kick. It's the fucking speed of it, and like it's just to the music as well.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good.
And you have the three of them then, like just
battling him,
basically playing badminton with Steppenwolf there. It's fucking amazing.
The way they kill Steppenwolf with basically a fatality is so badass as well. And actually, it reminds me of something that they might have done in like the Injustice games, which also reminds me of. The way this film opened was like the menu to Injustice.
The opening.
Fucking incredible.
Beautiful.
Like you have the logo, and then suddenly you're just looking at the spike through Superman's chest that is turning around. You're just like, holy shit! This is like visually stunning.
Yeah.
Way to open this fucking movie, like, and then the cry heard across the world. Goes on a little bit long, but it sets up. Here's all the characters and this moment. I actually really like that. And you don't get that in the original, so you're like, it's just shit just happens. Whereas in this one, the death of Superman actually is what is bringing Steppenwolf forward, because the mother boxes are like, okay, it's safe now, come.
Yep.
That's fucking awesome. Like, it gives context to what Lex Luthor, because it sounded like Lex Luthor at the end of BVS was just going, I'm setting up the sequel. Like, there's no context. I'm just some dude and I'm setting up the sequel. Whereas now you see this scene, you go, oh, okay, that's.
I mean,
the bell has been rung.
There's another character. While again, not the biggest fan of Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, but there was another character that was way better in this film.
Yeah,
it's
weird, isn't it?
I don't know if he was way better, but that line, having him say, Batman is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I didn't
So
go
much
like
better than having him say, "Shouldn't we have a league of?"
when I saw that scene, I was more this face rather than
Yeah, it was like, oh shit, I need to see
Yeah.
the next one, please.
that was obviously setting up the Batman, wasn't it? The one that we're not getting.
Yeah, but I wonder if if Zack was making his
No,
2 and 3, would he then go, right, well, let me incorporate, if I'm doing like Lex Luthor's
Maybe.
League, Deathstroke could be a member of it and we could still play with that.
I think in his plan for Justice League 2, it was going to be a Legion of Doom, and Lex Luthor was going to get Deathstroke, Dr. Poison, I think the Riddler, and then Orm and Black Manta. And they were going to be the second one.
Awesome. Well, on that note then, let's jump on to the villains.
Oh my god, Steppenwolf's armor is just fucking the best thing since sliced bread.
I love how it moves.
Yeah.
It made it seem otherworldly, and it didn't just seem like any random armor dude. Like it seemed like oh, this being comes from a different world because of the way the metal interacts, and like that bit when it flexes and breaks all the arrows in him and shit.
That's a really awesome
That's
moment.
awesome.
The thing that when I first watching it, that caught my attention, that caught my eye, I went, ooh, okay, all right, okay. CGI is really on another level. This film was just before he flexes and breaks all the arrows. Is when the armor slightly moves and creates an opening to catch the arrow to stop it from going into him. Like just the tiny freaking details with that character and his armor was just.
Yeah, fair play to Weta.
Yeah,
That must have taken feckin' forever.
Yeah.
He looks better than real life. The CGI in this movie looks better than real life.
I think my favorite thing about his character animation is his eyes.
Yeah, his eyes are great.
There's moments when he's like talking to
The
Desaad, and you can see, like, you kind of get a little bit sympathetic for him. Now I have to say Desaad is probably my favorite villain in the film. I was not expecting him to make such an impact. I thought he was just going to be like Granny Goodness, just kind of in the background.
Yeah.
But his the voice as well is so kind of signature and iconic as well. With it just stands out in comparison. Like if you heard Steppenwolf and Darkseid speak, it's kind of like sound somewhat similar.
Yeah, it's like I'm an evil CGI monster.
But Desaad has just such a
great voice.
Yeah, he's really, really good.
It's almost He's kind of
I was so glad.
Darkseid.
I don't know why whatever, if you wanted to keep Darkseid a secret for later on.
Mm-hmm.
Why was Desaad not in the theatrical version? Because Steppenwolf is not a very compelling main villain. And in my view, like when I heard Steppenwolf was going to be the villain of the first Justice League, I was not happy about that. Even originally when it was Zack Snyder doing it. Because to me, he was always like a henchman character, and he's not enough to bring the League together. Like, obviously, he is very strong, but I just never saw him as like a main villain. And having him more of like a Darth Maul role where he's actually communicating with the hologram that is the Dark Lord.
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, no, there's a bigger villain behind this, and he's actually just sort of the enforcer in this. And that's really what he is, and he's this brutal fucking, like, holy shit, he's brutal.
Yeah.
I mean that in a positive way. No, he's brutal. And I liked that they touched on. So my only understanding of the character is, and I'm sure there's multiple versions, and someone out there can fucking educate us. But my understanding of the character is that he's Darkseid's uncle.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it would make sense to me then that he's like, I'm older than you. That throne should be mine. And at one point, he obviously tried to do something that got him banished. And now he's just trying to get home again. He just wants to go home. He's like, I'm sorry. Take me back.
Which kind of sounds sympathetic, like, or pathetic, rather. But considering the amount of worlds he has to destroy or enslave, it's like, fuck me.
50,000?
50,000
more world. It kind of reminded me of, like, when Davy Jones was wanting to take back with Jack Sparrow, like, and he had to get like 100 crew for him or something.
I actually love that line as well, just when talking about like Steppenwolf having destroyed previous worlds. The Flash has a really good line in this one. It's like, this guy has invaded however many worlds. We have to assume that he's won every single time. He speaks with, like, he's not being funny at that point. He speaks with absolute reason at that point, where he's like, we have to assume that this guy is fucking unbelievable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, what is actually our plan in taking this guy on? I thought that was a really good scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
he's really like Steppenwolf in it is just a completely different character.
Yeah, he's again another one where you can see why Kieran Hines was a bit like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like, again, I can see actually why he was also like, please release the Snyder Cut, because he was like, I have way more to do in that movie, and I have an actual character. I'm not just some, like, I hated when I saw the theatrical version and they referred to Steppenwolf as Steppenwolf, the Destroyer of Worlds, and they actually swap him out for Darkseid in that ancient battle sequence as if Steppenwolf was some Dark Lord, and I'm like, fucking people, no one knows Steppenwolf. He's not like a big DC, you should have put Starro in here or something like the Steppenwolf is just some dude, some monks. So the fact that in this actual version it is that Darkseid is the big bad and Steppenwolf is acting on his behalf, and he does have a character arc, but in reality Darkseid is the actual villain.
Yeah.
I was like, yes. Darkseid's forces, that's the threat. That's the thing that you're stopping. That makes way more sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note.
He's cool.
Darkseid.
Like,
Darkseid
as little as he's in it, like.
Yeah, I mean, like if
very
you've watched the trailers, you've seen pretty much all of Darkseid scenes.
Well, except for
just
Omega Beam section.
That is in a trailer.
They showed it in a much later trailer. They did actually, yeah.
Oh,
My only criticism of Darkseid is that I wish I never knew he was in it.
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been good.
If he was a surprise, that would like if in the trailers they showed you Desaad, and you noticed that was going to talk to Desaad, you're like, oh fuck, cool, Desaad's in this, and then you have a slight hope or glimmer that maybe you'll get a shot of Darkseid at some point. In which case, when you do see him, that would have been like, holy shit, Darkseid. And when he has a speaking role, you're like, holy fuck, it's Darkseid.
I really love the kind of their version of a FaceTime.
Awesome.
The Skyping through the big metal,
It's like
molten metal thing.
No?
Yeah, it looks the effect on it is really, really good. Every time they speak, it's like as if it's dripping.
And dripping lava at that, so it's really like hellish, which is sort of what Apocalypse is. And I love that they mentioned the anti-life equation. As soon as that came into, I was like, oh shit! Like they're going for that's Darkseid's role. That's his whole thing.
What he's doing. That's what he's here for.
Yeah.
That's the whole, I suppose, the thing about how he ends up getting Superman on his side to some degree. In the
Man, I hope
sequence.
we see that. I really hope we see that. Like that's why I'd be hashtagging Restore the Snyderverse just because I really want to see.
Did you notice the two
stories
lifted
go.
scenes?
To which the lift? Yes. Well,
one from Man of
think
Steel, one
so.
from BVS.
I noticed the one from Man of Steel. I'm not sure if I noticed the one from BVS, but I definitely noticed the one from Man of Steel. And the one from Man of Steel is after he killed Zod.
Yes, and he's holding. There's like him holding Lois's
In this
burnt
case.
corpse.
Yeah.
In the Batcave.
Right.
Yeah.
That sequence was probably my favorite part of the movie. But when Cyborg gets his vision,
every part so far.
I know. When Cyborg gets his visions and like the thing is telling him this action is irreversible. This action is irreversible.
Yeah, don't do this, please.
And then you're kind of like, oh, you're what you're seeing versus like the fact that they brought Superman back, great. But you're like, oh, does this thing know that this shit's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And it's just told him that by doing this, you've actually set in motion a sequence of events that are going to happen. Which is kind of weird to me, because then it's like, okay, so in BVS, when the Flash came back and told Bruce, you need to find us. Therefore, that sets Bruce on a path to actually go find them. Which leads to the path of bringing Superman back, which possibly leads to this future.
This is that Terminator style fucking...
Does it only happen because Flash goes back to try and stop it from happening?
Well, yes, because he's too soon.
I'm too soon. Yeah. At some point, he's going to have to change the time that he goes back at, or something. I don't know. Or they'll have to just not bring Superman back and leave him be. Let him rest or something. I don't know.
Oh, actually, speaking of nightmare sequences and fucking Nightmare and Superman and Doomsday, the shot of the destroyed Hall of Justice.
Right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Superman carrying Batman's mask as he's just like on patrol or something.
Yeah.
Holy shit! I was like, wow, show me that movie. I want to watch it.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Joker scene in the nightmare sequence?
I really loved it. I was like, the first time watching it I loved how it was shot,
Right.
specifically. The kind of back and forward, and that it's kind of going in and out of focus, because what's kind of scary, I guess, about that look at the Joker is almost the silhouette of the smile.
Right.
The
Yeah.
kind of blurry silhouette of it. And that the sun in the background glaring across the two faces, really, really well done. But the exchange between them, not needed for the film, obviously. It was
It's pure setup.
Extra shooting, but just what they're saying.
Yeah.
And the intrigue of, like, why does he need him?
Right.
That's so interesting.
I
Why
ended up with a
does he
theory on
need
that,
him?
which is the most badass theory ever, and I hope it's true, because I'm like, this is just like DC. This would be just like the coolest DC story ever. Was like, what if the Joker has in him the anti-life equation?
So you think it is actually within the subconscious of someone?
Well, I think it could be.
Right.
I don't know how it's going to play out, but I was just like, what if like that's the reason that they have to keep him alive or something? Like they actually need like what like can you imagine whatever way it could play out if they need the Joker to undo this mess?
That would be fucked up. That would be fucked up. It would be the only reason
amazing.
Batman would tag him along then, wouldn't it?
But you know what? I never really bought the whole, the theory that people had that the Joker could be Robin,
Oh yeah.
right? I never bought that until I saw that scene, and now I'm like half thinking it is, because he was wearing yellow gloves.
Yeah, yeah.
They're really like Robin-esque gloves, and he kept talking about the boy wonder. Or he mentioned, an adopted son that he like lost. Like really taunting him about it. And it's like, okay, I mean, yeah, the obvious thing is that he killed him. But it's like, but maybe there is some merit.
No, I think he is dead.
Yeah, I think Zack has confirmed that.
Yeah, I think he has confirmed that, and he confirmed that it's not Jason, it's actually Dick.
Dick's dead?
Yeah, like they changed the Robin as well. Yeah.
Oh man,
Oh fuck! Oh shit!
Yeah.
you killed Dick. Well, I suppose, yeah. Okay, well, yeah, I suppose
He
then
killed our Dick.
well, you would wonder in this universe then you'd be go, well, where's Nightwing if it is the Jason version? So, I suppose, yeah. Fair enough.
So probably hasn't moved on from there to even take on another Robin.
It'd be lovely to see kind of a relationship form between Batman and the Flash if they make more of these movies where he looks at him as sort of young, like it reminds him of when he had Dick.
Mm-hmm.
When he was...
Choose your words carefully.
All the kids in the orphanage call me Dick. Kids can be cruel. Lego Batman, so good. But yeah, and actually, did you notice that Harley Quinn died in Batman's arms, and she
that was
begged
cool.
him to kill the Joker?
But do you see how much of that is true though, or how
Right.
much is that just getting at him? But I love that moment with the Joker. It's like, there's an element of, that's hitting me somewhere, and it shouldn't, obviously, but it is to some degree. And then he kind of goes, like, is he coming? Does he think that Batman's just like playing with him, or does he realize he's now showing somewhat emotion and needs to kind of snap back into this role that he's playing?
Yeah, well, I love the notion that, and I really hope it happens, because I love the idea of like Batman trying to keep the Joker alive, and Joker just taunting Batman and giving him every reason to snap his neck. Through, but Batman's like restraining himself, and he just say to him, "Was like, when this is over, I'm gonna fucking kill you."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh shit," Oh man, I want the sequel. Like, and I actually, because that was extra shots done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like Zack Snyder was handing everyone his CV.
Yeah, it is a bit like that, isn't it? Yeah.
I think so. Like... I think, like, is there a reason to have that other than hey guys, this is where I'm going with this. If you want to work your magic, everyone.
Well, like, I mean, he has answered it, hasn't he? He did say why he did it.
I know he's not. Yeah, but he's not going to say, "Oh, I filmed that in the hopes that everyone will get, a hashtag going, so I get my sequel."
Why not? I mean, he's been doing that basically for the whole Snyder cut.
He's been thanking the fans for their hard work. I just think there could be an element of that. I know, obviously, he was saying, "Oh, it'd be cool to have a scene between Batman and Joker."
Yeah.
But
it's really impressive how he filmed that.
Yeah,
because he had to film everyone separately. He filmed Ezra Miller through Zoom. He directed him through Zoom. Like that's crazy. Yeah, that's
mad.
Crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, that would explain the lifted kind of Batman or Superman scenes because, obviously, the difficulties in trying to film them. But I felt that the one at the end was much more obvious to me, at least, than the Man of Steel one. Like the Man of Steel one, I think just felt like it's not the exact same scene, but it could have been another shot in the same location, just like another angle.
Oh right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Because his performance is a little bit different. It's not the exact one from Man of Steel. Whereas the one at the very end when he's like, they're like, oh, he found us, and then he lands and he looks up, like that is him arriving in BVS in the beginning. There's nothing different about that. It's the exact same scene.
Yeah, but it looks cool and it
looks awesome.
And also, can I just say?
Yeah.
I think that's where the film should have ended.
Oh yeah. I mean, like in terms of but I think it might. Like I don't know about you, but when it continued, I was like, yes, like it almost felt like.
But I will
this is
say,
so like the Return of the King, isn't it?
It is. But I do think that scene between him and Martian Manhunter. I'm a big fan of Martian Manhunter. I think it's a really poor scene. That's another moment where I'm like, why is Batman not behaving like Batman? Like, what the hell? He's not just gonna go, oh hey, how are you doing?
Oh hey, friend.
Yeah, like, I was like, you're fucking Batman. Like, anyway,
Yeah, no, that's.
I think it should have been Swanwick coming to Bruce Wayne.
Sure.
And at this point, we now know that that's Martian Manhunter. I liked the scene where you see Martian Manhunter earlier, and I was like, oh shit.
See, I didn't. I preferred the one at the end.
See, I'm the other way now.
Because the other one, although the transition is sick.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it.
It's kind of annoying to me that that's the moment where he appears, because now it indicates that beautiful moment between Martha and Lois isn't real. It's not.
Yeah.
That it's unfortunate that you remove the emotion in that scene.
Yes.
By trying to introduce this character, whereas having him towards the end, at least it's not affecting anything. It really isn't.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I do think that the scene, but it should be Martha talking to Lois, and actually, looking out for her ever since what happened to Clark. I just mean that seeing just in that hallway. Seeing Martian Manhunter transition from one character into another, regardless of who that character is, I thought was a really cool way of showing.
It could have been cool if it was like Swanwick investigating the DOD guys getting kidnapped.
Yeah, like if it had been even down at Star Labs, someone goes and asks questions, they leave, they turn into someone else, and then you go, oh shit, that's Martian Manhunter. Like, just in the background somewhere, Martian Manhunter is doing investigations on what's happening. That would have been fantastic.
I fucking love the aesthetics of the capes. I know it's a really weird thing to kind of obsess over, but when he is flying away from Wayne, the cape looks fucking unbelievable. It looks so good. Like it's like really velvety or something. Like
he's got capes down, let me tell you.
Yeah,
this guy
knows how to do capes.
He does. He fucking does, man. Yeah, I like the inclusion of Martian Manhunter, but that scene at the end felt really Marvel-esque to me.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's very much like a.
Well, hey, yeah, and actually, when I watched it, the first thing they said was, it's like, "What's your name?" It's like, "I've gone by many names, but there are some who call me Aragorn, son of Arathorn. They also call me Strider. My real name, you'll have to." I felt like that when he said it at the end. I was like,
yeah. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the best handled.
No.
But that was an additional scene. That's.
I know that because you can tell by Ben Affleck's shape.
Yeah.
You can tell by he doesn't kind of want to be there. He's very much just Ben Affleck in that scene. He's not Bruce Wayne there.
He's lost so much weight at that point as well, and you can really see that. I think just him waking up in the bed after that premonition and maybe just like looking out the window or something, and the movie ending there, would have been enough to say, oh, that scene is a premonition, but now he's worried that still could happen. He feels like he stopped it, but now it's like
It's clear that Martian Manhunter is really the only one that could probably go toe to toe with Superman in that nightmare sequence.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah.
So I can imagine, like, you know, them trying to go to him for help, but he's obviously in hiding. Fearful.
Has been there for a long time, maybe.
Fearful that, you know, it's almost a coming out story for Martian Manhunter. It's
Well,
like
I think so, isn't it? The actions of the League have actually inspired him to come forward.
Yeah.
Which is a cool notion. But it would have been nice maybe earlier on in the movie. I know there's a lot going on in it. Maybe you have to swap out for something else. But to have Swanwick, at points where he's like really afraid or anxious of what's going on in the world, or something like that. It feels strange.
Yeah, it definitely that is the most Marvel-y scene.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not trying to bash Marvel there, but it's just, those Marvel scenes where you're like, cool, okay, about 10 people here get that. You watch them and you go, right, sure. Yeah. I'll go Wikipedia it when I get home, and then I'll be like, cool, I'm pumped now.
Setting up for the next one, kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about that we haven't had a chance to touch on?
Zack Snyder's cameo appearance.
Yeah, that's cool. He's
so good.
Actually, that's where he was writing the script. It was in that cafe.
Yeah.
Oh, well, in that scene, I have to say, that's another one of my... Here I go again. That's another one of my favorite shots in the whole movie, is Lois Lane walking in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
And it zooms in on the ring on her finger, and there's beautiful music playing. And I actually, like, some of my favorite moments in the whole movie are just those smaller, more contemplative moments, those real non-super... Like, to be honest, I wasn't too mad gone on the last action sequence of the movie, like that set piece. I liked the bit where they kill Steppenwolf, or I liked the bit where Superman comes in, but in general, I was kind of nonplussed by what was happening in that sequence. Probably because I'd seen it before, in different color, but I'd seen it before for the most part, and I was sort of like.
Tell me you didn't like Aquaman surfing a body through a building.
That's in the theatrical cut, though.
Was it?
Yeah.
It feels so
pretty much everything
different.
Aquaman does in that scene is in the theatrical cut. So I'd seen that whole sequence before. It's colored better and it's scored better.
Yeah.
But I'd seen it, so I kind of know the outcome of it. So in that sense, I wasn't too invested in that sequence.
Well, you didn't.
Until Superman came along, and then I was like, oh, cool, fuck yeah.
And the fucking... Like, when I was watching it, the portal opened up, I was like, no.
Yeah,
is he gonna...
No, fuck off.
That's mad that, like, they lose.
Yeah, for a split second.
That's crazy that...
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand why you would remove that from the theatrical.
I think Ezra's acting is really good there, because he's trying to keep this, like, cool and sound cool. He's like, oh, I just got the... But he's like, trying to hold back tears, because he got freaking...
that's really good. That's really good.
When he's like, oh, I just got the wind hit out of me, but he's actually, like, bleeding, and at the speed that would have hit him because of the speed he's traveling, that's like a serious mortal injury.
Yeah.
That he's then trying to heal and then keep up with the plan. He's handled so much better. He gets moments where you're like, oh, Ezra can act, you get to see his actual character.
Yeah.
Which I felt like he didn't get, isn't it in the Whedon version? He runs through an alien and he goes, yes, gross, all in one moment. As he's goo on him, and you're just like, what?
Yeah. Did any of us think though when he was saving Iris in that moment?
Right. He's kind of a bit creepy.
Well, no, not creepy, because it's like, it's kind of a love at first sight kind of a moment, but what the fuck was he gonna do with the hot dog? But I love that, like, because I was watching that going, where is this going? But the Flash, he's thinking like fucking 20 steps ahead.
Right.
That he's thinking way ahead before we are, and that there was such a nice payoff to that. Like, I think the way that was handled was like at the end where he's, trying to impress for his job, and I thought that was like done really, really well.
Yeah.
I when I first saw that, I did kind of laugh because I
Yeah,
thought,
I was
oh,
gonna
he's the
start poking
Flash.
her in the face with the fucking thing.
No, I didn't think that.
That would be
But I
very
was like-
disrespectful.
yeah.
I was a bit like, oh well, it's the Flash. He needs to eat loads. So now he's seeing, oh, here's a sausage to get up the calories. I was gonna yunk that, think that.
Yeah, there's a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
there's a lot of little things about him I think are done really really well. Like before he, like the in the Justice League version, I think I mentioned before that my favorite moment is when he's running and Superman is like catching
Turns
up
and notices him?
turns and looks at him. And before that, he does like this, like he's doing like this kind of like yoga kind of pose before he does that. And before at the end as well, before they go on their mission, he's on the bat plane, I guess. I don't know what you would call it, but
Yeah.
he's there doing like Tai Chi.
Mm.
You know, he's doing yoga.
stretches.
He's well, it's not just stretches. It's like he's doing one of the, like a form of like really really slow martial art.
Right.
Like that's mental. That like he's doing like the slowest fucking meditative thing before he goes off to do the
The
fastest shit.
fastest.
Yeah.
Like little
Yeah,
details like that are really really cool.
Why did they take out that sequence where he reverses time?
I think
It's
that is my
honestly one of the
favorite part
coolest.
of the film.
It's so good.
What would be your
I-
favorite part?
But even seeing everything reform
Yeah.
was
I think
amazing.
they took that out because it's not something Marvel would do so early.
No, I
It's
don't
not.
think so. I think it was
I don't.
because
I
think the
people
reason
are
they
getting
removed
caught
it.
up on this Marvel thing. I don't think it has anything to do with that.
I think the reason they took it out is because it would mean they'd have to kind of put
Play-
Cyborg in and into the thing because that was the reason for it. And if Cyborg was into the thing, then he has like that weird, like he has a moment with the Mother Box, which is to do with his backstory. But they've removed his entire backstory, so the only way they can retcon it is that they've removed the Flash sequence.
I think as well, their way of highlighting that they lost was the portal opens and we see Darkseid is about to come true. And in that version, they don't have Darkseid in it.
Yeah,
So
so there's a
you're like,
lot of. So that Flash moment is so interconnected throughout the entire film
yeah.
that
It's a payoff.
Yeah,
And it's
it
a
is.
payoff that has setup. And if you don't have that setup, you can't have that payoff. And you're like, but just why didn't you keep the setup and the payoff? What's the matter with you? There's a lot that could have been cut out of this film for sure to make it a shorter movie.
I think
There's loads.
we've mentioned a few that could have been.
Yeah.
Especially the
But even
epilogue.
like you could like, I think it's a cool action sequence, but a version of it made it into the theatrical version. But you could actually leave out that Wonder Woman saving people scene. All it's doing is showing you what Wonder Woman does. But in the grand scheme of the story, you're like, oh no, I already know Wonder Woman saves people, so it's fine. Like I don't really need to see that. It's great that you see it, but if you're looking for stuff to cut, that's not as important as Cyborg's character development. So in the theatrical version, it's like, well, why did you keep that, but you didn't? So it's like, okay, so you kept that because people love Wonder Woman at the moment, but you did like, we need to love Cyborg.
Yeah,
so
it's
that
weird
at
that
the
they
end of
didn't
the movie
have
we understand them.
confidence in that character. Like they would have
Right?
watched it. Like executives at Warner Brothers would have watched Zack Snyder's version and would have said, "Nope, not good enough. We need to bring someone else in to rewrite this." That's
Yeah.
fucking mental.
Well, they wanted it to be lighter and funnier and stuff.
But it is
Like, that's-
though. Like this is lighter and funnier than
I
BVS.
when I
100%.
watched it, 100%. I watched it and I was like, I'm actually surprised by how much of Warner Brothers notes Zack in the original version did take on. Maybe not Zack per se, but Chris Terrio definitely. They were definitely asked, "Can you make this lighter?" And
Well,
they
they
definitely
did.
went, "Yes, we will."
Because it was originally much darker, but he ended up
Yeah.
putting that kind of shit back in, like the bit where Superman is holding the corpse of Lois.
Oh my
That's
god!
that's the reason they had to. He just lifted from Man of Steel that pose is because they never got to shoot that.
They never got
sequence
shit right.
because they were trying to make it lighter. So this was a moment of him kind of. This is still a little bit of a Frankenstein monster to some degree because it's
Yeah.
half what they were originally intended to do, and then also him trying to put back in the stuff that he wanted to do initially.
It's why I'm even more excited for the possibility of him getting a sequel, where it's just like, no, you know what, you do you.
That'd be great. I hope that's the thing.
because like,
And the
you know, I'm-
multiverse exists. They mentioned it. The multiverse
did?
exists.
yeah.
Joker
So
mentions it at
they
the end,
could-
doesn't he?
Well, I think Steppenwolf mentions it too.
No, but I think I noticed thing you're talking about, Eric, where Joker talks about like how many realities are you going to let die
Yeah.
just by living or something like that to Batman.
Yeah.
It's like that's badass.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and yeah. Steppenwolf says it about the anti-life equation.
Oh right, yeah.
Talks about
That's right.
the control life in the multiverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like I think that's the direction that DC need to go in. Like Warner Brothers need to kind of say, this is it's self-contained. The Dark Knight is itself contained, and each one of them is all like they can do a new Superman if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But they absolutely need to do another Henry Cavill Superman,
Yes.
and it needs to be called Man of Tomorrow,
Yes.
and it needs to have
Brainiac.
Brainiac, yeah. Well, actually, I don't know about Brainiac. I would consider Brainiac to be another Justice League villain.
Yeah, but you kind of like you need.
'Cause I think for like
No, I would do Brainiac.
well, it's just like considering like a standalone.
But he's got his Justice League movies laid out, right? And there is no Brainiac in there, and Brainiac doesn't work well with others. But you do need for a Superman movie, you need a threat that can take on Superman. So, and I don't know, I'm kind of sick of the kryptonite plot. I don't know how everyone else feels, but like, so you could bring him Metallo, but all he can do is kryptonite. You're looking at Lex Luthor, or maybe he makes a kryptonite suit. Like, I'm sick of kryptonite. So Brainiac has never been on screen. I feel like
Could you
he's
do the
perfect.
like
You could do
Bizarro
Parasite.
stuff?
The which one?
Bizarro is like,
Or Lobo?
See, I feel like what you can do is you can get Brainiac,
yeah.
and because he has so many countless civilizations collected on his ship,
Mhm.
he could essentially pluck, Parasite out and like send him down. He could like somehow get DNA from Superman and then make Bizarro. So maybe Brainiac isn't strong enough, and he realized that because he's freaking super smart. He realized he can't take on Superman, and therefore he plucks out help because he's thinking that steps ahead. Like,
You could do that, but I don't know. Like, Brainiac alone is enough, I think. He really is enough.
He is, but I just feel like he's so.
What would
he's
happen
so
there
big.
is
He's just so big.
if he showed up, the thing is, if he showed up, you go, where are the rest of the league? Yeah.
There is
'Cause
that. There's the rest of the
world,
league, but it's also if this is a success
Yeah.
and they want to do more, where could they go after Brainiac? Honestly,
What do you mean?
Mongol with Warworld.
There's so many they could go with it. You kidding me? Every DC villain outside of Batman's Rogues Gallery is like a world-ending threat. Like,
I know, but
Like, they're all,
out of
you know-
like the Superman or Justice League kind of villains, I would have always considered Brainiac to be like.
we see. I feel
apart
like
from Darkseid.
Like once you deal with Darkseid, you don't go further than that. You know what I mean? Like, so he needs to be the final, unless you want to go Anti-Monitor. And the
But
Anti-Monitor
that's
destroys universes.
yeah.
So I don't know if you want to go there, sure. But
It's
that's
kind of it's
different
hard to
conversation.
do. I think it is hard to do a Superman story, which I think people like. I mean, I think that's why Man of Steel, for me at least, works. Is like we can see at the end of this Justice League, he could just kick people around the place. Like nothing is really a threat to him,
right.
except for his place on the earth.
Yeah.
Social pressure, which is what was being, I suppose, explored. Like you can't really do a threat other than just world ending, can you?
No, you can't. But I suppose the other thing you could do actually, I think Brainiac is the perfect choice. He could he normally puts a force field over the city that he's about to take.
Yeah.
So if you put that over, no one can get in and no one can help. And if that's over Metropolis, you could have a self-contained story then, where Superman is dealing with Brainiac, and then you could do a lot of stuff of how, essentially he's so interested. The reason he's picked Metropolis is because it is where Superman is, and Superman is the last living thing of Krypton. He never got to collect from Krypton before it got destroyed, and so he's looking for something to collect. I think there's a great story that could be told there. But anyway, now we're going into like fantasy land. So we'd love to hear from everyone else. So if you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to jump down in the comments. Let us know where you would like the DC universe to go next, and also what were your thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League. What did you like, dislike, and get into all the characters. You can also touch base with us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take to let us know what you thought of Zack Snyder's Justice League and what you'd like for future DC movies. If you enjoyed this, please give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, click the notification bell so you know when we put out future content. And we will be talking to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
I know this isn't video game content
Yeah.
that we're discussing,
Yes.
but it kind of is.
Kind of is.
Because it's like, this is the first time I think that a movie has gotten the same treatment as a game, where when the game is released, it's badly perceived and then it gets an update.
Right. Yes. Well said.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm looking forward.
This is like a really great patch.
I'm looking forward to all the great DLC that's to come then.
I hope there is DLC on the way.